Hey folks, welcome back to Mark Ellie Farm. It's a little sticky outside today and probably about 90 degrees. So we came in early from the outside. So we're back in the kitchen and we had some friends named Matt and Kathy that were really good friends of ours back out in California. And they were on their way to Wisconsin. So they made it a point to stop here and see our new place. And they stayed 3 or 4 days, and they're going to go on to Wisconsin and stay another week or so up there and then come back for another 3 or 4 days. Well, when they showed up, they brought us this. Another friend of ours out there sent some zucchini and some summer squash with them to give to us. They are about a month or more ahead of us out there. They start gardening around March 1st. So they're a couple months ahead of us, so they're already getting zucchini. You have to be careful out in California because people get what's called zucchini overpopulation disorder. And if you go to their house, you'll go to leave and you'll find a bag in your car full of squash. They always got way too much, way more than they need. So I recognized that early on when I was gardening, when my dad was gardening, and I got to where I was only planting 3 or 4 zucchini plants. That was back before we started putting stuff away, just back when we were just basically gardening. So we're going to show you some cures for zucchini overpopulation disorder. One of them is my famous zucchini bread. This, I would have to say, this recipe was the one I've shared the most over my adult life. Everybody wanted this recipe. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to take this squash. We should have enough zucchini because we got a great 2.5 cups for this recipe. I'm probably going to save the summer squash maybe for dinner. We'll saute some of that up with some mushrooms and that'll be amazing. A little bit of garlic and some butter. But we're going to grate this zucchini up, and if I have more than 2.5 cups, I'm probably going to have a double batch. So what I'll probably do, I'll grate it all, and if I have 2.5 cups more, I'll put it in a quart freezer bag and freeze it for the next time I want to make zucchini bread until our zucchini gets going. So I'm going to wash these and we'll be right back with some grated zucchini. So if you're dealing with zucchinis that are a little bit larger and you don't like the big seeds or the kind of soft centers, just cut them long ways and get a big tablespoon and scoop out the centers like you would like a cantaloupe or a pumpkin or something. And the rest of the flesh is just fine. Just grate it up like everything. Some people even take and do this and they'll put like a meat mixture in the middle, like a meatloaf or something like that. As long as you don't put it too thick, and then bake those and have like a stuffed zucchini. It's really good. So we got all the zucchini grated. If you have a food processor with a grater disc, that process will go much faster. But we got probably 3 times what we need. So we're going to bag it up in quart freezer bags. Always mark what's in there. Put the date on it. And whenever we want zucchini bread, we'll just pull a bag of that out of the freezer. And yeah, the freezer will affect the texture of the zucchini. But for bread, that's not a concern because it cooks down anyway. So texture is not a big deal. The flavor will still be there. So we had enough for 2 freezer bags. And we had just a tad more than 2.5 cups. And that's fine. And we're going to mix everything up in that same old bowl. We'll pop these 2 bags in the freezer for later. So into the squash, the grated squash, we added 3 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. We used a half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Optional, you can use 1 teaspoon of cloves as well, but I do not like cloves. There's a reason for it, but that's a story for another day. So we're going to kind of mix up the dry ingredients on top, and then we're going to fold it into the zucchini and then we're going to get the wet ingredients going. So we've created a little well in the middle. We put in 2 eggs and a cup of oil, and we're going to kind of scramble that up a little bit together in the middle, and then we're going to incorporate it into the squash and the dry ingredients. We'll start folding it all together. Now, what some people don't know, if you want to get away from some of the oil, because oil is what makes it moist when you eat it, just like a cake mix. So if you want to cut back on your oil intake, and we just use good clean vegetable oil in this. You could use any oil as long as it doesn't have any strong flavors like olive oil. But some people don't know, as a substitute to oil, you can use an equal part of applesauce. And that even goes for cake mixes. And it will come out just as moist. But I'm fresh out of applesauce, so we stuck with the oil. And the oil's not going to hurt you. So we're going to get this mixed up. So normally you would cook this in like a loaf pan, 350 for about an hour. But if you remember my banana nut bread recipe, which you're going to have to go back and find because that's amazing too. I love this little square pan. So I'm going to use this, and whatever won't fit in that, I'm going to put some cupcake tins in my wife's heavy-duty cupcake pans, and we're going to make some individual ones in there too. Because I like making them individual so you can wrap them with some cellophane, some nice stretch-tight cellophane, and put them in the freezer and just take them out, throw them in your lunchbox and go. They're a really good treat. They thaw out by lunchtime. So I'm going to spray this pan up, and then we'll get everything loaded and we'll get it in the oven. So we got our pans filled up. You can see how perfectly those are filled. I'm not that good. You remember from our banana nut bread, I use a disher. Works really well if you want the same amount in every one. This is a number 20 disher, and I don't know if you can read that. It's 1 3/4 ounce fluid ounces. Remember, there's a difference between fluid ounces and weight, dry ounces. And I forgot I had this pan. It's like a muffin pan. So I just used the big cups in that, and it's the same amount. If you don't have a disher, and if you've ever got like one cup filled deeper than the other, just take a spoon and even them out. It's not a big deal. So we're going to pop these in the oven. They're definitely not going to go for an hour like the recipe says for a loaf pan. So we're going to check on these probably at 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and check them with, give them the old toothpick test, and we'll pull them out when they're done. One thing I didn't show you while I was mixing stuff up, this is one of my most favorite spoons in the world. It's got a silicone head to it, wooden handle, made by those folks, if you've ever heard of them. I don't know if it's going to focus on that. But really cool. I think it's called a Spoonula. It's like a cross between a spatula and a spoon. And it's really good for folding and scraping bowls. I know it may not seem important, but I like to share with you guys stuff that I've come across over the years that I really enjoy and really works out well. So if you can find one of those, you'll love it. So we are out of the oven. These took exactly 20 minutes, and these took 25 minutes because there was a little bit more in those. But we're letting them cool down, and then we're going to individually wrap those after I steal one out while it's warm and put a little butter on it, which is my favorite way of eating it. Now, this recipe does have an optional 1 cup of raisins that you could add in. And I am a raisin fan, but I don't like it in any type of bread. I like this just like it is. So I imagine if you could put raisins in it, you could put any dried fruit in it, that if you cut it up like the same size, or craisins or anything like that. But I like the zucchini bread all by itself. So that's a good way to cure zucchini overpopulation disorder. There are others. Like I said, you could do the stuffed zucchini, or I really like the zucchini with the mushrooms sauteed with a little bit of garlic and butter. Super good. Now, when our garden starts getting going and we get all of our zucchini in, I'm going to do a video on my zucchini relish. Fantastic. We eat it on almost everything. We put it in tuna salad, we put it in an egg salad, and we only have like a jar and a half of that left. So just in time, our zucchini is going to be coming in. Jerry Lynn, thank you for the zucchini. Thank you for sending it out with Matt and Kathy. If you haven't tried the zucchini bread, you need to try it. I don't know if I've given you the recipe. But super good. Give it a shot. Come on back to Mark Kelly Farms and check us out again. Like and subscribe if you want. I'm not going to beg you to. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come on back and see it.